live. This is Sound Advice. This is Sound Advice with Dr. Lilach Saperstein. That's me. I am the host, producer of the About Audiology podcast. Hello. I think we're live. Awesome. This is Sound Advice, the live Q&A session with me. I'm Dr. Lilach Saperstein, audiologist and host of the About Audiology podcast. I am so excited that you are joining us here for our very first Sound Advice Q&A, and I am making sure that you can hear me and see me. And how can I see the comments that you leave? This is very exciting. I know everybody is constantly talking about how the new live Facebook feature is, challenging to navigate, and I am learning that. So anyway, we're going to dive right in, and I'd love to start answering some of your questions. So you can leave them here as comments. I'm going to try and pull them up on my phone as well so that I can also follow along there. Let's see how this goes. While I do that, I am going to tell you a hilarious story of my 2.5-year-old. She said today, we have this like a tube that's like, you blow into it, and it's like a little kid-sized tube for the pool. But the kids like to just play with it and sit in it and roll around the house in it. And so we call it the tube. And so she said, my 2.5-year-old said, I want the YouTube. I want the YouTube. And so, of course, I thought she was talking about getting on screens, but no, she was referring to the tube. And she had overgeneralized the tube, the word YouTube, tube, put them together. It was just hilarious. And over on my Instagram, I was talking about that today, about how we can sometimes see the inner workings of a child developing language. And it's really fascinating and exciting to see it in real time, live, when they make connections. Like another example is when she says, this is mine's. She goes, mine's cup. So she's doing both mine. She understands that something is hers, it is mine, but she's also understanding the possessive S, apostrophe S of possessive. So, but she's like doing both of them. So it's so fascinating to see, it's like the coding, like, how when you learn about artificial intelligence and you learn about how the artificial intelligence is actually doing trials over and over and over again, the computer code, and every time it gets the result, it's like, yeah, I did it right. And every time it doesn't, it learns from that. That's like machine learning. And so it's hilarious to me that we are now using machine learning and AI as the metaphor to help us understand what our brain is doing and what brain processing has been doing for thousands and thousands of years. It's just phenomenal. Okay, cool. So I am getting notification on my phone. That means we're really live, and I am looking forward to hearing your questions, so that we can have our sound advice Q&A sessions here. I know that I sent a couple emails about this. So if you would like to receive emails from me and join the email list, you can do that at allaboutaudiology.com. And if you're new to the podcast, then you can check out 47 episodes that are in the archive all about audiology, but how it relates to you, how it really fits into your life. Like if you're a parent to a child with a hearing loss, you have very specific questions and interests to hear other people's stories. So lots of guests come and share their personal journey. And I also have a lot of related professionals come on. We have parenting coaches and occupational therapists, speech therapists, of course, but also, people from different fields come on the show and share how audiology intersects with all these other topics. So I'm very, very excited that the podcast, has reached so many people and is able to give a platform to, these conversations that are bigger than just like what I'm personally going through or what a parent or a patient or a provider is dealing with, but like for all of us to come and have these conversations together. I am waiting for your questions to come in. And we hopefully will be doing these sound advice videos every week here on the Facebook page. It will, you're also always able to send questions to me ahead of time and how we're going to run these sound advice videos. So I'm going to try to also share this with the Facebook group in just a moment. I can also, okay, I will figure out how to share that with the All About Audiology Facebook group as well. And Amy has joined us. Welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for joining. And Amy has posted a question, so I'm going to read it. Amy says, my friend just got a new hearing aid and it's really hard for them to listen. They get headaches. They don't want to talk on the phone. How can I support them? Amy, that is so wonderful and so kind that you are looking out for your friend like that. And your friend's experience is actually really, really common. So many times when people get new hearing aids, even if they've had hearing aids before, if they get a new set of hearing aids, there is going to be a little time period, a couple of days or even weeks, where it's going to take them time to adjust to the new sound. And I think this is something that's really important and not talked about enough, that when people get hearing aids, when children get hearing aids or even adults get hearing aids, it's not this magical solution that they're now just going to hear everything that's said around them and be totally attentive and, have typical hearing like people who do not have hearing loss. Absolutely not. Actually, it's very, very different than that. Hearing aids are an amazing tool. They're an aid, okay? They're something that helps. And hearing aids amplify the sounds, make them louder so that the person can have access to those sounds. But hearing loss is not a one size fits all kind of thing. There's lots of different kinds of hearing loss. And hearing loss also affects people differently in different ways. For example, for one person, making the sounds louder will help them. But for other kinds of hearing loss, making the sounds louder actually distorts them even more and makes it even more challenging to communicate. So that's why having a really great audiologist who's patient, who is going to take you on this journey of several appointments to fine tune and fit the hearing aid really well so that it's adjusted to your hearing loss and your preferences, how you like to listen. Sometimes people prefer that the sound has more roundedness or like bass, it sounds fuller. And other people don't like that sound. It actually feels like, the room is too big. So we can change the settings within the hearing aid software to make it that it's, fits to your preferences and so that you could hear speech, prioritizing words over background noise and over, we can even do specific settings for like specific hearing aid settings programs for different environments. Like if somebody is in a place of worship that is a big open space with lots of reverberation, we can set a hearing aid program to be for that specific environment and lower some of that echo and that reverberation. Or, make certain programs that pick up sounds from the front more than from the back. And that's almost like an automatic kind of thing that comes with a lot of the hearing aids now, this software setting that it's picking up from the front more than from the back. But guess what? We can disable that for people who specifically need to hear what's going on behind them, like, for example, taxi drivers or parents who are doing a lot of carpool, right? So when they're in the car, they want to be able to hear their kids in the back. So we actually want to disable that if it's an automatic feature. So anyway, I got a little over here about what we can do with hearing aids, but nevertheless, even though we can do so much with them, it is such a difficult, well, maybe not difficult for everybody, but it can be a very challenging time to adjust. And if your friend who just got new hearing aids is having a hard time and they're getting headaches, definitely recommend and remind them that they can visit their audiologist again to get things fine-tuned, but also remind them that this is a process that takes time to get used to, and maybe for a couple days give them a break from interacting or talking on the phone so much. Maybe cut the conversations short, or even just do some texting and WhatsApping and Facebook messaging so that you're not giving some more strain to them. And it's always this delicate balance. We definitely see this in those early stages where you want to exercise the brain and you want to get them used to the new sound, but you also don't want someone to be so frustrated or so in pain. For sure, if they're, in pain or getting headaches, we don't want that. But there's some level of strain that needs to happen there in the beginning for it, for them to get used to it, for their brain to acclimate to it. And what we know is that the more you use it, the more you get used to it. And so we do want to find that balance where it's challenging but not overpowering. I hope that helps, Amy, and I think you're a wonderful friend for, reaching out and trying to support your friend. I think they would really appreciate that. And another thing you can do, and that would be very appreciated, is to welcome them into the All About Audiology community. You can share the podcast with them, the Facebook group, the Instagram, wherever they hang out, they can come and have these conversations with us as well. So what we are going to be doing on Sound Advice is not only taking your questions, but also sharing some tips and some, timely things that are going on. So right now we're in the middle of August for anyone watching the replay in the future. We're like in the 18th, I think, of August, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the 18th of August. And many people around the world are going back to school. And back to school in 2020 is a whole situation, a whole other can of worms, whether it is in person, whether it is remote, some combination of those things. School and going back to school in this school season is filled with questions, uncertainties, fears, and a lot of confusion for teachers and parents and students alike. So I wanted to just give a couple of ideas about going back to school during this time. And the first thing is about remote microphones, FM systems. FM systems are an incredible tool for students in the classroom who have hearing loss or any other kind of auditory processing difficulty, and really something that can be helpful to pretty much all children, to have amplification of the teacher's voice or of the audio that they're listening to. It could be the smartboard playing a video, things like that. But basically an FM system is where the teacher uses a microphone, and that microphone sound, that audio, is streamed directly into a student's device, either into their hearing aids or into their cochlear implant, or into a speaker on the other side of the room. So you sometimes have these systems, a sound field system in the classroom where the teacher's voice, teacher's on one side, they're speaking into the mic, and that gets beamed over to a speaker on the other side of the room, especially in these bigger classrooms, where you can then have, the sound coming from both behind and in front. And that way the teacher doesn't have to raise their voice as much, and the students have better access to the sound. Now, with the use of masks, okay, there's a lot of pros and cons for different masks, and there have been incredible researchers doing so much about, which masks change the sound the most, which masks are easiest to see, right? We have those clear masks with the window, but they're actually the ones that make the sound lower the most, attenuate the sound the most. And then you've got different materials, and some materials let it through better, some materials let it through less, but definitely there's another challenge with the sound quality when anyone is wearing a mask. So even more so than ever before, if your child is eligible for an FM system, speak to their teacher and make sure that they are going to be using it throughout the day. And it's super important to wear it, down here on the shirt, because lots of times putting it here with a mask in the front is actually blocking it, but putting it under seems to be a good way to still preserve some of that sound. And that can help students hear a lot better. And again, it's also good for the teacher. Like if you need to sell the teacher on this and you're in a meeting with them or typing emails to them, like remind them that they don't have to raise their voice as much, and vocal hygiene, taking care of your voice is important, incredibly important for teachers, among other people who do a lot of speaking. So that is one thing about masks and school. If there's going to be remote learning, there are so many ah, conflicts, issues that have come up in terms of accessibility and captioning, having the material ahead of time. What is it like to have school remotely in this kind of way where the teacher needs to manage so many different students while they're in their own homes? And I think it's really, really important, and it comes down to a lot of advocacy and a lot of speaking up for what your child needs, and taking those requests and those things that are mandated, things that they deserve, to make sure that they're going to get that accessibility and those services by reaching out to the school and being in touch with the teachers and being in touch with even the whole district on a district level. These are things that sometimes, in this case, you're going to have to be the one to go and fight and get what your child deserves and needs. And this is a topic that's very close to my heart. Advocacy is a very challenging topic, again, but I think it's something that, as parents go through this journey, you start to find your voice. You start to find the places where you can really help, and at the same time still give your child the self-advocacy skills that they need to speak for themselves, to ask and do communication strategies and repair strategies that are going to help them communicate. So basically, life is a fine balance in every area. We're always juggling different ideals and things we want to be doing. But 2020 is a very unique year, unique time for everyone, and I hope that new school year is a success and it goes smoothly, and most importantly, that everyone should be healthy and safe. This is really exciting to me, that we can do these sound advice Q&As, and I'm really looking forward to next Tuesday at the same time here on the Facebook page, and I'm going to also stream this into the Facebook group so that we can do lots of Q&As together and do some learning one with each other. You can feel free to leave comments here on this video, and I will be checking them and answering them, no problem. And if you're interested in the All About Audiology podcast, you know where to find it, allaboutaudiology.com, and on Stitcher and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, basically anywhere you get your podcast, to listen to some amazing stories of people who are walking this journey like you. The most recent episode is with Courtney Turner, who shared her story of having rubella as a child. Well, her mother had German measles during pregnancy, and then had rubella and hearing loss subsequently. So you can go and listen to Courtney's story. She shares some hilarious college mishaps with people misunderstanding her over on the podcast. And I am so excited. So thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you next time on Sound Advice. Bye.